Hey, everybody, I think today's Tuesday night, August 13th, 2024. This is Across the Pitch post-game show. I'm joined by Jose, who's frantic. Todd Lewis, just right on time, Todd. Perfect timing by you. Joins us at the last minute. Uh, if you guys watched the show last night, I have a cold. It did not get better, so I'm gonna let these guys carry me tonight. But the Union with an amazing win tonight, 4-2 at Cincinnati against Noonan. Todd, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts and reactions?
Well, my first thoughts are it might just be the Jose Nunez show tonight. So hopefully, hopefully my audio issues are corrected. Hopefully people can hear me loud and clear. But yeah, I mean, I think the first word that pops into my head is mentality. I mean, you go up 2-0, you blow a 2-0 lead, and then you answer right back and get a third goal, and then you get the fourth goal. And how many times this season have we seen the Union this year blow 2-1 leads, specifically against CF Montreal twice this season? We saw them blow a 3-1 lead in Chicago this season. We've seen the Union, or even this too. I know they didn't blow the lead, but they gave up a goal against New England a few weeks ago, and then the Union went right back down and scored to make it 4-1, 3-1. I forget what the score was. I think it was 4-1 at that point in the game. But this team is different. And I asked Jim Curtin, or I wouldn't ask Jim Curtin this after the game, but I think what it comes down to is this team is healthy. They have the best players available, and you're not relying on, no offense to the Union 2 guys or guys that probably shouldn't be on this MLS team, shouldn't be with the Philadelphia Union. But, you can now put Bueno to the bench. You can put Alejandro Bedoya on the bench. You can put Olivier Baizu to the bench. Guys who, can make a difference for you. And that's exactly what they've been doing, is making a difference, whether it be starting, whether it be coming off the bench. And so I think for me, it's just the mentality of this team. They're playing with a lot of confidence. And I think it comes down to just this team being healthy.
Absolutely. Before I shoot to Jose, I'm going to put some comments up because if I don't get to them soon, they're just going to get too crazy. First of all, Mazatlan won the game against Cruz Azul and PK, so we'll be hosting them on Saturday. I believe it right is the date for the quarterfinal.
I don't think it's announced yet.
Yeah, I texted somebody over at the ticketing office. They mentioned the 17th. That would be this Saturday. Obviously, wait to make real plans until the official announcement. But someone who has helped me with a lot of ticketing stuff and other nonsense throughout the last couple of years told me the 17th. So for what it's worth, Saturday, whether you're boycotting or no boycotting, not boycotting, I don't care. Union play seems to like they're going to play on Saturday. So exciting times.
And it's worth noting that the Seattle Sounders game, because they advanced to last night, that's also on Saturday. So not saying that the Union game is going to be on Saturday just because Seattle's game's on Saturday, but it would make sense that game would be on Saturday as opposed to a Sunday. So definitely haven't heard anything yet. I don't think any one of us, and I know you said you texted somebody, Jose, but we do know it's going to be played on the weekend, that for sure. So have your weekend open.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen,
Todd's so pragmatic. It will be on the weekend, guys.
Yeah, they made it a point on the English broadcast to bring it up 3 or 4 times that, this game's going to be on the weekend. The Philadelphia Union are going to have another game at Subaru Park this weekend. I'm like, we get it. The game's this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, Valerie's already shifting around her whole schedule just to be there. I mean, listen, the comments again. Everybody's excited tonight. I love what's it called? T-Mac saying, "Man, what a game! Ty might be better than Julian." That's how the fans are feeling tonight. They're very optimistic. Derek, our boys are back in town. It's just really good vibe tonight. Colin, the next game's this weekend. Like all this good fun commentary. This is not what we felt in the comments just a few weeks ago.
No.
Recently, we've had some shows that are just like tough to get there. Like I get that everybody's upset, and it's very difficult to do a show like that. But when everything's like this and it's positive, like comments are flowing in and everybody's in a good mood, it's just much better. I was watching that game, and I think speechless is probably the best way I can describe it, because it was just not what we've seen all season. It was complete. They had a couple miscues. They obviously had those bad stretch where they let in the goals, but they just felt like a more complete team. They felt like a dangerous team, and Ty Baribo right now is playing like a man possessed. And again, we talked about this briefly, Jose, already. How could this man be behind Donovan for so long?
Anderson.
And Anderson. And I'll get to the comments in a section. But Todd, look, you and you guys watch more soccer and know more soccer than I do. Can you think of another time when somebody has just come onto the scene and made this much noise and this much impact? Because this is unprecedented for us as Union.
Jose, I think
Yeah, I'll
your
go.
fan. No, I was gonna say I think your fan's picking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
Sound
my
feedback. Yeah, your
my
ceiling fan.
stinking air conditioning just went on. Yeah, let me answer quick, and then I'll
Okay.
mute myself. Gosh, it's hard to believe that I'm even making this comparison, but what you're asking is exactly what Luis Suarez did in Liverpool in terms of coming in and just tearing it up. Obviously, a far departure between MLS, Philadelphia Union, and Ty Baribo and Luis Suarez. So, gosh, what a run of form he's in, and my gosh, I don't know that I saw a prettier goal from him. Obviously, he scored bunches lately. I would say that tonight his no touch, first time hit across his body to score his brace was just unbelievable. So I don't know, man. It's really fascinating and also puzzling, right? A man who could make his way to the Israeli national team like clockwork, still not get any minutes within the Philadelphia Union. Obviously, you, myself, and Todd, and anybody else who's watching right now, unless you're Jonathan Tamwell or Joe Tansey or Matt DeGeorge, we're not at the practices all the time. This is not our full-time job, but like, what was happening at practice is beyond me, that this talent was just hiding for the longest time. And, it is what it is.
11 goals. So you say talent? Look at that number. I mean, holy cow.
That's unreal. So I'll turn over to Todd and mute myself.
Yeah, so I was trying to think about this myself. I mean, I see what fans are saying yeah, Ty Baribo over Julian Kranz. I don't think I'm going to take it that far yet, but I think the one thing fans do have a right to question is why wasn't Ty Baribo given more of a chance when Julian Kranz was here? And I get it. Jim Curtin said, he wasn't happy with his work rate, and the effort you give in training is what you're going to give in the game. And I respect that. You want to practice as hard as you play. And if Ty Baribo wasn't practicing good enough for Jim Curtin, then I'm not going to question Jim Curtin, the head coach. But it should be mentioned that where would this team be if Ty Baribo was in this form? Because let's not forget, the Union had a plan in place to sell Julian Kranza last summer. They brought in Ty Baribo to be that replacement. That was the plan going into it. And the Union ultimately decided to hold on to Julian Kranza because it looked like they can go on a run again in 2023. Ty Baribo makes 5 appearances last season and didn't look great, right? But you can also argue wasn't given a lot of opportunities. But I would argue, how many times, you guys have talked about it on your show, how many times do we see every single summer players come over when MLS is more than halfway over and they come to a new country, a new league, a new team, and the travel is so hard to adapt to. And so, it took Ty Baribo some time to adopt to MLS. I mean, look at Daniel Gazdag. He didn't have a great first season when he was with the Union in 2021, and ultimately he missed out on going to the Euros because of an injury. Yes, for sure. But getting back to the point after that rant, yeah, I mean, I can't think of a player like Ty Baribo that's come in this hot, been in this much of a fine form. And I mean, one person, I know the fans are happy, but I think the person that's probably more happy than Ty Baribo herself is Ernst Tanner, right? Because Ernst Tanner is showing, look, I know how to scout players. This guy is who we thought he was. And now you're giving him an opportunity to start, and he is showing you the player that we all thought he was. And Jim Curtin even said that, I think, yesterday on Monday, that the first touch finishing that Ty Baribo was scoring, that's what they saw in the game film. And now that he's finally getting consistent playing time, that he's knowing his teammates are knowing him, now we're seeing a player that's rivaling Julian Kranza numbers. And maybe at the end of the day, he will be better than Julian Kranza. And I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if Ty Baribo continues this fine form, there's going to be offers coming from Europe.
Sure. And listen, I know all the hypes around Baribo, and I'm trying to read these comments, guys. They're great. Please keep plugging them in. But one person mentioned, I think it's T-Mac, Ua. Ua really did have a strong performance. He's had his ups and downs this year. I know some fans are very critical of Ua, but that finish that he had on his goal was spectacular. and it's and off his left foot again. We've seen a couple times now him score with his left foot, and it's been strong finishes. So Ua is playing well. Baribo's playing well, but one person, Dan, mentions the defending's still a little bit sketchy in spots. And you mentioned as well these additions we're bringing in. That's where someone like Danley is going to come in and maybe solidify that and make the counterattack even more dangerous. So it just, this felt, I saw someone on Twitter post, this felt like 2022 Union. That's basically how it felt tonight. And the vibe right now is great. One person does mention, Evan says, I feel bad from Bizo. Hope it's not serious. He's plugged in very well recently. So did you guys hear anything from the press conference? I'm going to ask you guys about anything you heard from Jim Curtin tonight, because obviously Olivier went out. I know that Andre Blake was not taking the free kicks at the end of the game. Some people were kind of looking into that a little bit, seeing it could because Jacob Glessens was taking those. So Todd or Jose, whoever you want to take it, if Jose you want to go with your mic, any word from Curtin about the players tonight?
Well, I made a phone call. I'm waiting to hear back. In terms of where Danley stands in being registered, he needs to be registered by tomorrow at midnight, I believe, or tonight at midnight, I think. I have to double check. Todd, you're muted. Is it tonight?
For MLS,
No,
imagine?
Leagues Cup. Leagues
Okay.
Cup. I think it has to be tonight at midnight. I'll have to double check, but I made a phone call and texted and hoping to hear back soon. Obviously, in the broadcast today, they made a comment about him having some visa issues, which is very standard for the Union at this point in their track record of player acquisitions and issues that get in the way of allowing players to play. So, someone like Danley, a shuttler at the 8 or potentially playing at the 6 could be massive. So it would be tomorrow at 11:59 Eastern time. He needs to be registered by so he can play this Saturday as one of the 3 player substitutions. Go ahead, Todd.
The Union confirmed the game is this Saturday.
Yep.
Perfect. So the Union need to get it done. They have until tomorrow at midnight to register Danley so he could feature. And obviously a $1.6 million player that comes from, playing so much French Ligue 1 would be an awesome addition to that team. Maybe taking over a Quinn Sullivan type of spot out on the right wing or maybe on the left wing. Who knows?
Listen, last night we talked about this for the people who caught the show. And when we were talking about the lineups, Jose, we mentioned Quinn Sullivan hasn't had the best showing lately, but tonight he comes on as a super sub and absolutely just wows us with a goal and assist. Jose, what were your thoughts on Quinn this evening off the bench?
Funny enough, I called Todd ahead of the press conference because, what we typically do is we just, ask each other, like, what are you asking? What am I asking? Make sure that we're not asking the same question so we can cover as much ground as possible. Same with Kyle and Jillian of the one team we agree on. And Mike, often the times that you've shown up to press conferences, I sort of tell you what I'm asking and making sure that we're not, we're aligning. But my question initially was, man, Quinn Sullivan came in and flipped that game upside down in a way, right? In terms of, sure, there was a goal scored while he was on the field, but the way that he just was helping waste time in terms of taking it to the corner and achieving what was asked of him in terms of earning throw-ins, I think even a corner kick at one point, but obviously scoring off of his own rebound. And I think, just being involved all throughout the play there once he joined the match was great. Mike, backing up to your question, Olivier Mbaizo was one of my questions during the press conference, sort of an update on him. Jim was not really, I don't know, it was a non-answer, Todd. I think you would agree in terms of what's going on with Olivier. It's obviously very, very early since the match ended. Slight knock, I guess, sort of like the outside of the leg, maybe knee. Just saw a picture that was sent to me and with the players celebrating, and he's there. He's taking, he's in the background standing up, so he seems okay enough to stand on top of a chair when they do the team picture at the end of the match. So we'll see what happens with him. But all in all, man, Quinn Sullivan, in my opinion, turned that game upside down towards the tail end. And as Todd mentioned, the grit of this team to not hang their heads once they gave up a two-goal lead.
Well, I also think he came at the right time. I mean, Bedoya, obviously, hard-fought game. I thought Bedoya had a few bad passes or at various parts of the game. But overall, I expected the captain to play just considering the magnitude of this match. where you're playing, etc. So I'm glad that Curtin made the subs when he did. Todd rather. What were your thoughts on Quinn or any of the other substitutions? Because we saw Sam for a bit, for Michael, and we also saw Leon Flock, from McGlynn later on in the match.
Yeah, I thought Quinn Sullivan was fantastic coming off the bench, and he's had his moments where he's looked good, and I think more times than not, he tries too much taking players on 1v1. He slows down the play, or actually, he speeds up the play, I would argue. He speeds up the play where his teammates don't want to go at the speed that he wants to go at. And, maybe some of those performances are why he missed out on making that Olympic roster this year. But, to his credit, he continued to put in the work and to get those starts, and it was too little too late to make that final squad. And I think, maybe we're seeing a little bit of a pissed off Quinn Sullivan now that, hey, look, I should have been one of those players making that Olympic roster. And that's only going to help the Union. And we go back, Jim Curtin keeps talking about the depth of this team. And if you can get Danley registered in time, that's going to add even more depth to that midfield. And I've talked about this on my show where you need as many midfielders as you can get because of the press, of the high press. And yes, this team doesn't press as often or as high as they used to back in 2019, 2020, but they still do press. And the one thing that we've not seen a lot of this season with Union is counterattack goals. And I think that's back-to-back games now we've seen counterattack goals. Yeah, because McGlynn into Ty Baribo, and then we had the counterattack goal with Baribo to get the fourth goal tonight. And so to see the Union capitalize on counterattack goals is what made the Philadelphia Union the last couple of years. And so I think, whether Quinn Sullivan be a player coming off the bench, whether that be Quinn Sullivan starting, and then you bring in a Jesus Bueno, you bring in a Danley, you bring in a Alejandro Badura, that's only going to help this team. The one thing that fans have been arguing about the last couple of years is not having any depth. I mean, how many times have we said, well, we know the first sub for Jim Curtin is going to be Corey Burke off the bench, or, oh, we know it's going to be El Senior when El Senior is here, or when Anthony Fontana is here, it's going to be Anthony Fontana. Well, now you legitimately have 3 guys, in my opinion, that he can bring off the bench, and depending on who's starting, who's not starting, and that's only going to help this team going forward. And I know I saw a comment from somebody that covers the team, kind of joking on this run that the Union are going on in the Leagues Cup, saying, well, yeah, that might be great that you win Leagues Cup, but now you're not going to get into the playoffs, so you're going to get knocked out of the playoffs by FC Cincinnati. I think that's bullcrap, right? You want to win every single game that you want to win, and I think the farther the Union go into this tournament, that's going to give them the confidence to pick up grounds in the playoffs. So 1 point out of the playoffs, they still have to face Cincinnati, who's ahead of them in the playoffs with the 1 point. And, I want to see the Union continue to do good because that's going to give them the confidence. Jim Curtin says it all the time. If we get into the playoffs as a 7 and 8 seed, what team wants to play us? And here's one thing. I don't know if fans realize this. The Union are 500 in all competitions this season on the road. They are a fantastic road team.
Great point.
And so if the Union do have to go on the road for the playoffs, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, you feel confident, and you go into, and I know TQL Stadium wasn't full, but that's a difficult place. You look prior to this game, Union were 0 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw against Cincinnati, and they go into TQL Stadium and beat Cincinnati. They go in the last time they played an MLS Cup and come behind from 3 goals with Ty Baribo, Jesus Bueno. And so this team's very confident on the road. And again, just going back to the depth, you got to feel good where things stand with this team. And there's 1 day left. Do they bring in another player? We shall see. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, first comes the first. You got to register Danley. But as things stand, if players can stay healthy, you got to feel good about the squad.
So, I mean, go ahead, Jose.
Mike, can I jump in super quick? Mike,
Yeah.
I've been told that that's it. Two is it in terms of players in. Obviously, that's just people telling me, sources telling me that, 2 is it. That's all that's coming in before the 14th at midnight. Things can change, but I don't know. We'll see. But can you imagine a world where the Union used a Carranza Baribo front line? The way that these two are, the way that Baribo's playing and how well Carranza played while he was at Philadelphia. Can you imagine what that front line could have done in CONCACAF?
I know it's a question that will forever go unanswered. I mean, so some of the comments I want to bring up. First of all, kudos to Sean and myself because we were the two very optimistic ones last night. So I appreciate Sean chiming in tonight. He mentions the casual gym is back, making it a little bit better for us with Mojo. But a lot of people are saying how the subs have been better from Jim. At the same time, he finally has the substitutions to make. What was we saw that long stretch of U2 players? They were like, "Oh, we're criticizing Jim for these subs," but who did he have to use? Now he has this roster fully stacked, and it's very exciting to watch. But the confidence comes back to I think Andre Blake, and Danny mentioned it as well on the commentators during the match. Andre Blake being back in net just brings a different level of strength and mental fortitude to this club. And also that Blake, the save that Blake had, can we talk about that briefly as well? We just dive into his left and just gets a hand on it. Absolutely incredible save from Andre. And the reality is, and this is no disrespect to Semley or Rick, they're not making that save. They're just simply not. And that's why Andre Blake is so important to the club. Again, the comments coming in, everybody seems to be eager for Saturday. How will the stands at Super Park look on Saturday? That's a great question, Jose, because the reality is we saw against Cruz Azul, it was very blue, but it was a different kind of blue. And it was a very poor showing from Union fans. Now, a lot of Union fans are not really excited about Leagues Cup. A lot of fans now are, considering the way they performed tonight. Todd, how do you predict the stadium's going to look on Saturday? Because I really don't know if they're going to fill the seats like they did previously.
Yeah, first, can I go back to your Andre Blake comment?
Sure.
I mean, this is a guy who's going to give you one or two world class saves every single game, and he's legitimately going to win you games. That's how good he is, and I think Union fans maybe took Andre Blake for granted when you had to see Oliver Zemla and Andrew Rick in the goal, and no discredit to those guys, but they're not Andre Blake. And how many people in MLS are Andre Blake? I mean, I think once Andre hangs up those cleats, he's legitimately going to be a top 5 best goalkeeper ever in MLS. That's how good he is. And he continues to make those saves that change games for the Union. And Kyle had asked Jose and I, he's like, how many points do you think the Union would have had if Andre was healthy all season? And I think the Union probably would be a top 4 team right now in MLS just because he saves a lot of those goals that Chicago scored, a lot of goals that Cincinnati scored. And, he gives his defense a belief. Jim Curtin's not been shy about talking about that in the past too, where these guys, the center backs, feel like they have to play a little bit more conservative because, they can't really trust the goalkeepers in the back. But once you get Andre Blake, you can be aggressive because, Andre Blake, more times than not, is going to come out and make those saves. Now, as opposed to how's the stadium going to look? I don't know. I understand why fans opted out because you're asking fans to pay extra for Leagues Cup, and then you still have to pay extra for playoff tickets. And so you're just asking fans to keep paying more and more money. So I understand why fans opted out of Leagues Cup and fans calling it a money grab tournament. But I do hope fans realize that the Union are 3 wins away from winning a trophy, and winning this gets them into the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And so that should be the ultimate goal of any team, is to play in your continent's biggest tournament. And so if the Union can continue to win, get close to a final for Leagues Cup and ultimately win it, I think that's huge. And let's not forget, the prize money that the players can earn. The farther the players go, the more money they're gonna earn. And some people want to say, "Oh, the players don't care about money." That's bullcrap. That is total bullcrap. The players absolutely care for money. Of course, they want to win games, but they know, the farther we go in this tournament, we're gonna get more money. You mean to tell me somebody like Andrew Rick, CJ Only, David Vasquez, they don't care about earning extra money when they're making 86,000, 87,000? Jose, I'm sure you can fact check me on those numbers, but sounds around the ballpark that these guys are making. Of course they want to make even more money. So yeah, these players absolutely care about making more money. They care about winning. And like I said, I understand why fans opted out of this tournament, but I don't know. With the way that things are going, and maybe fans don't come out for Leagues Cup, that's fine. Okay. I understand that. But the one thing I would argue is, we've not seen Subaru Park during the MLS regular season be packed. And these players are going to need it going towards the last 9 games in the regular season. So I hope fans show out for that at least.
Well, that's the thing is that I understand the protests. I get the Open Cup, Leagues Cup. Eventually, you just have to put it all aside and just root for the team that you love, because that's all it is. That's we're just all want to support a soccer team who are playing better. And the reality is, Todd, I think you mentioned it, a few minutes ago. If you get hot at the right time and you enter the playoffs, nobody's going to want to play you. And I think back at the Rockies from 2000, I think it was 2003. I forget whenever they went on the run, 2007, when they went on the run. I think it lost to the Red Sox in the World Series. They were on that unbelievable tear to end the season. They got to the playoffs, faced the Phillies, I think, too. All that matters is getting hot at the right time and healthy at the right time. And now we have those things working together. How can you not, as a fan, as long as you have the availability to go, show up and go and party and have a great time and join the crowd? I want to be there. If I can go Saturday, I absolutely will. I'm hoping that the people who were against it can say, like, you know what? A CONCACAF bid, a trophy at the end of the day is still something that we all have been dying for as Union fans. Jose, what are your thoughts on this?
I guess I want to pose a question to both of you and folks who are kind enough to join us this late into the evening. But would you consider it a successful season if the Union don't make the MLS playoffs but win Leagues Cup?
Todd, I'll let you answer that first because I have to cough.
Yeah. I do think it's a successful season for the Union. At the beginning of the season, on my show, I do my season predictions, and I said the Union have to win a trophy this season because the reality is the core group isn't getting any younger, and you're going to keep breaking this team up. And so I would hate for us to be sitting here 5-10 years from now, assuming we're all still doing this,
Yeah.
and talking about, wow, I mean, look at that fantastic Philadelphia Union team with Jack Elliott, Jacob Glesnes, Andre Blake, Alejandro Bedoya. How many trophies do they have? Oh, only the Supporters Shield. That's it. Wow, that's one of the best teams. I mean, Jim Curtin talks about it. I feel like he talked about it all the time, how the team had the most points over the last 5 seasons in MLS play, and that's great. That's a fact. That is fantastic. That tells you that the Union are consistent. But what do fans care about? They care about trophies, and so if you go out there and get a trophy, win Leagues Cup, like I said, you qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup, and somebody put it in the comment section. The fans not realize that getting into CONCACAF Champions Cup, that gets Jay Sugarman, that gets his club even more money. And so fans should want the Union to be in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Not that I don't think they should, but in reality, when you only need 3 more wins and you win a trophy and that you qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup, like fans should be all in on this. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I went on a rant and forgot what the question was, but
I'll take it over from here.
You subscribe to the notion that it would be a successful,
yeah, successful. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
a successful season.
Win a
So,
trophy.
Yeah.
I sound like a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Just win a trophy.
No, I feel like you have to. I think you have to look back at what you said the last 5 years, right? We've had the Supporters Shield through the COVID year. We had the MLS Cup, second place finish, Eastern Cup Conference Final title, and now if we were to get this, we would have all these trophies and accomplishments within this period of time. I feel like that's overall a successful window of this franchise when you look back on it 5 or 10 years from now. But at the same time, the season was so lost, as Jose says in the comments, saves the season. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, none of us thought that this team would be anywhere near as good as they were tonight. No shot. So for them to go out, and let's say hypothetically they win this tournament, right? Just, I feel like the pride behind that as a fan, like, man, these guys were, they were getting blasted on the internet. The coaches, people were calling for the coach, and people who were trying to burn down Union Yards. There was so much negativity. And for this club to just hunker down, wait it out, get healthy, and find a way to get back on track. I don't know. I feel like that would be a lot of pride behind that Leagues Cup. Yeah, sure. Maybe it's a shitty tournament that nobody really enjoys as of now, but I don't know. I'd be pretty happy with it. And I think it would save the season. Jose, go ahead.
I'll have to text Ebun over at LBF. Do folks that bought the $300 LBF varsity jacket get free stitching for Leagues Cup champion 2024 if the Union end up winning it? And I posed that question to somebody who has been very open, very loud about how much I appreciate this tournament, because think about tonight, right? In terms of Philadelphia and winning this match, and what I think is, and gosh, I feel like what's his name, Ray Hudson, who used to do or does commentary on a lot of Real Madrid, Lionel Messi, whatever. I think he even did Inter Miami or does Inter
Yeah,
Miami.
he did. Miami, yep.
But what a beautiful chapter in the rivalry tonight was in between Cincinnati and the Union, in terms of last time they got together, it was a 7-goal thriller. Then you have tonight with another amazing game full of goals. This tournament has been incredible. Never mind what happened with Miami and Columbus. Then we saw Cruz Azul scoring last-minute goals against another Mexican team. So this, I have been very loud about how much I love and appreciate Leagues Cup, and that's, I think, a personal opinion. That's okay. But man, it has created some incredible scenes, some incredible storylines, and sure, do I wish that they also played US Open Cup? Sure, because I'm sick. I'm a sick man. I would watch as many games as possible, and that's just the truth. But the reality is that this is what it is. I don't know that the union really had to say whether or not they participated in the US Open Cup and Leagues Cup or one or the other. It is what it is. It was a decision made. But ultimately, how much fun this has been over these past 3 weeks. And I say it as someone who's only watched Union games and the occasional game that I put in the background while I'm podcasting with you, Mike, and Dave, or shit, man. Oh, shit. Phone podcast, shit, man. Like all the other stuff that I'm doing during work. So like, what a fun tournament this has become, and ultimately super entertaining and beneficial, as Todd mentioned, to the players who are just making a lot of money per win, $150,000 or equal to what the Mexican teams are making bonus wise per game. So the players are benefiting. Fans and press alike are getting to watch some good games. Attendance may not have been great for some of the games, but ultimately it has been exciting and it has been fun. So I don't know. I see it as a win. And you can quote me on that.
Really quick, I'm going to bring up Claude's question here. Anything about Blake with Glesson taking the kicks? I don't think anything's been said so far about Blake not taking the kicks at the end. I know somebody mentioned, possibly a time-wasting tactic, etc. So we don't have any word on Blake, whether he took or didn't take the kicks, rather, for any sort of injury purpose. But Jillian brings up a good point. The Phillies have just been terrible lately. They really haven't been great to watch. And it feels like the Union are just kind of making us ease our way through that pain that is the Philly season. So if you're the Union front office, you're thinking the Phillies are struggling, the Eagles haven't started yet. This is our time to get the fans back in the stadium, just like they were a couple years ago when the Union was the hottest ticket in the town because of how well they were playing. And I'm going to bring up some more comments here. Having Blake back completely changes our defense and instills confidence back into Glesson Snelly, and I agree with that as well. Glessons feels like he did, the 2022 Glessons, which is fantastic. So, Todd, any other thoughts about this game? And we didn't really talk about the goals themselves, but, I mean, such perfect goals from Ty Brebo for his grace. Go ahead.
Trying to clip all these goals, and Jose knows it too. I mean, it was so stressful there. And on top of trying to clip the goals, I'm trying to put my notes, what I want to talk about for the show. And then Jose calls me, and I might have got a little bit irritated because my audio wasn't working. And I was like, I hung up on Jose within like 16 seconds, So I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, why are they so empty? It was stressful there. Watching the Union concede 2 goals, and they come and score those 2 goals, trying to take notes. Now not having audio issues, but we're good to go other than not having notes. But, I mean, Mikal Uhr, I think somebody mentioned it earlier in the show, and it's his first goal since June 15th against Inter Miami. Yeah. And not saying the people listening, commenting on this show, or people that are anti-Mikal Uhr, but there are people on social media, and I do realize that social media is not a whole representation of the fan base, but a lot of people just look at assisting and goals. That's it for strikers, and I get it, and I feel like I've said that plenty of times on the show, where, yes, when you pay $2.8 million for Mikal Uhr, when you're paying him over close to $2 million a year, you expect goals, absolutely. But at the same time, what he does off the ball, stretching the back line, and I think I actually called you and said this, Jose, where I said, he's an expensive Sergio Santos. That's what he is. And that might be true, but he is working hard for this team. And, now you have Adeniran, you have Baribo, and you have Mikal Ua. All three strikers offer you something a little bit different. And what it reminds me of is Julian Kranza, Ty Baribo, and Corey Burke.
Yep.
And that's, you felt good when Mikal had to come out or Julian had to come out and you put in Corey Burke, because you know what? You knew we're always going to get hustle. And not saying that Mikal Ua needs to start every single game, but you're going to get hustle whether he starts or not. And yes, maybe once his contract, I believe he has an option for 2025, and then his contract's up with the Union, and maybe the Union go back to him and renegotiate something, maybe bring that on to a lower rate. I don't know. Haven't heard anything, but I'm saying, maybe you wouldn't be opposed to that if the Union want to, bring that number down a little bit. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he wants to go back to Denmark, but I do think Mikal Ua offers you a lot with just stretching out the back lines, going at tired legs, tiring out the defenses if he starts. And that's where a player like Sam Adeniran, who is fast, he's quick, and he's a player that's going to make center backs uncomfortable with just his hold-up play and everything. So, I mean, the Union are in a really, really good spot, I feel like, right now, where they have three strikers that they can rely on, and all three of them are good enough to start.
Absolutely. Jose, what are your thoughts on that?
Fuck, man, I don't even know where to begin. it's I don't know. I honestly don't know. What was even the question?
Just your thoughts on
Mikal
Baribo's goals and Mikal Ua and how this front three is really performing, because we saw tonight when Ua, Daniel, Baribo goal, and like this felt like what it was with Julian at times. What are your thoughts on how the front three performing?
First and foremost, let's include Daniel Gastag with that beautiful assist outside of the foot. I got vibes of what McGlynn had just done actually the week, or I should say Montreal, not even a week prior, just earlier in the week, last week I should say. Just incredible assist. But yeah, Mikal Ua was, and I found this interesting, Todd, during the press conference, Jim mentioning, yeah, it seems like whenever we have these open and honest conversations with Mikal, he suddenly just picks it back up. It's like, shit, man, then fucking have these conversations every pregame.
It happens all the time. I feel like he's always saying that they're having these type of conversations. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, just tell him that he's shitting the bed, and then suddenly he'll score a banger or two. I don't know, man. Like, I have no idea. So yeah, Ua was much in really needing to get a goal in, but Baribo, obviously, we don't have to talk much more about him. And in terms of Sam, as I mentioned to Todd and mentioned to you, Mike, yesterday, it's a two-way street right now with Sam in terms of having to figure out his form and what he does in the future, right? Is he playing for a new contract with the Union, within MLS, within Europe, selling himself to teams who were interested in him with Lask out in Europe? Or are the Union looking at him as, shoot, this is a tryout. You have this many months to sort of impress us, and gosh, I can't imagine they make him a designated player, but like, do they throw a ton of money at him and then use money that they have, Garber bucks, to buy him down and make him a viable option? Which would be hard to imagine considering how well Ty has been playing over the last few months. So it's as Jim said today during a press conference as well, good defense, good goalkeeping, the rest falls right in place. And that's exactly what has happened with the Union, with sort of cleaning up some of those dumb mistakes that Glessens was making, that Elliott and Damian Lowe was making as well. Getting Andre Blake back in net. Nothing against Semla, nothing against Andrew Rick, but Andre Blake is the real deal. Gosh, potentially one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper to ever grace this league. Suddenly comes back. Of course, you're going to start winning games. He guarantees you some points throughout the season, and I think this is the little chatter that myself and Todd have had on the side. But like, what position would this team be in should they have had Blake the entire season versus having a rotating cast of two in net?
Yeah, and also in terms of just like how players are playing right now, Derek mentions Gazag's acting more like a 10 now. How much of that goes to players that are around him, they're more dangerous, rather than Gazag playing with Chris Donovan and Marcus Anderson? He's playing with players like Baribo, who are just on fire right now. I can't wait to see how he plays on Saturday. He's just like now a must-watch player every single time he touches the ball, which is, again, hard to imagine I'm saying that considering what we were talking about 3 months ago. But
Mike is officially showing up with a Israel flag on Saturday.
that's right. Absolutely. Just there was one actually in the stands.
Yeah, I was
At
gonna
140
say
last
I've been
month.
seeing them more and more in the stadium. So I don't know, like MLS doesn't allow flags, but Leagues Cup,
Mhm.
are you allowed to bring in flags? I don't know. I mean, I've seen plenty of them the last couple games during Leagues Cup. So I don't know, maybe different rules. But I do want to go to Derek's comment talking
Yeah.
about Gazak being or acting like a more of a 10 now, and he's absolutely right. 2 assists tonight, 3 chances created, and I think what we saw when Julian Kranza was here is Julian would drop in deep and try to play that 10 role like Daniel Gazlag. And so you have 2 guys that are dropping deep where you now only have one outlet pass up top. And now you have Ty Baribo and Mika Ua, both players staying forward, Sam Adeniran staying forward. And now you can have Daniel Gazlag operate as that 10, get into tight spaces, play these quick 1-2 passes, play the ball into space. And when you had Julian Kranza here, Julian was trying to do a little bit of the same as Daniel Gazlag. And so maybe it was off a little bit between those two, but now I think everybody's roles are just even more clear with the front two. You know, keep those guys up top. Daniel Gazlag is gonna find you. Daniel Gazlag so clever at finding the small inches of space, and you know, maybe the passes aren't coming off all the time, but what you're seeing is the right ideas, and so he's passing it where the ball should be passed to, and he's running into the space where the space is, and it's not a lot of space, but he's doing what Luciano Acosta does for his FC Cincinnati. No, Daniel Gazlag isn't Luciano Acosta with the vision, with the high soccer IQ that he has and the dribbling ability. But we are seeing Daniel play as a number 10 more than what he's done in the past, where at times it just felt like Daniel Gazlag was playing as a second striker, just not really getting meaningful touches, taking deep touches, and then just darting into the box, where now the Union are finding him centrally, getting him on the ball, and now he's playing that ball forward to the 2 strikers that are staying much higher up the field. And yeah, it's been working the last couple of games, and hopefully that continues. Hopefully the Union have found out something tactical where they can continue to play Daniel Gazdag in his natural position, and hopefully it continues to work out. But it's a good observation by Derek there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, we could talk all night. It's 11 o'clock at night. I know everybody's got to work. I do want to just get a quick thing, though. Any lineup changes for Saturday that you guys are thinking right now? Jose, I'll go to you first. Obviously, Olivier is the biggest question. If Nathan Harrell plays, I'm assuming he does. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say Nate over Mvizo, and I think leading into the game with you, Mike, I was sort of, man, maybe Sam starts, bullies his way around and tosses his body around, gets folks tired, etc. Forget that. What Jim did today in terms of starting Ua and just him running at players, and then Sam coming and using his body once the bodies are a little bit more tired, was probably the perfect strategy. Maybe some more of that, and frankly, I really, really hope that the Philadelphia Union figure out the paperwork for Danley. I would love to see a debut for him at a quarterfinals in a tournament that would be obviously a debut for him, not just ever for the Union, but also for the tournament. But he is as Jim would say, a top player. He's a serious player, and I would be very excited to see him go against I don't know. Mazatlan is not a top 5 team in Mexico. So, and they played like it today. Don't get me wrong. Against Cruz Azul, they did just fine. They did what they had to do.
Like
but
Querétaro did last year in the Leagues Cup.
Basically, right, finding their way in a tournament to make a ton of money for themselves, for the players. But yeah, I would love to see Danley, and I don't know that 9 games worth of work is going to be enough to really get a sense of what Danley is, and that's why I want him to start as soon as possible, and that being Leagues Cup. So I don't think he starts, even if the paperwork is ready, unless he is a stud more than I even imagined him to be. But that would be very, very cool to see if Danley is able to make a debut.
It's a great point Valor brings up tonight. Cruz Azul was also down a man.
Yep.
So, yes, it went to PKs and all that stuff, but they knocked out a Cruz Azul team that was really at a disadvantage. I know
self-inflicted.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, you got to play the team in front of you. You can't really argue past that. I know how Curtin operates, or we all know how Curtin operates. He likes to go with lineups that have worked. I am curious if he does the same thing tonight with Bedoya on the right-hand side. But at the same time, I think Sean mentioned Sam and bring U off the bench. I think Valerie mentioned the opposite, go with what would work tonight. I kind of want to see Sam. I want to see Quinn. I kind of want to see them go at Mazatlan right off the bat. A lot of energy, a lot of bruising, a lot of power, and just try to make it a quick 1-0 game at home and really just bury them after that. Todd, what are your thoughts on this lineup coming up on Saturday? Have you had a chance to watch Mazatlan yet at all or no? Yeah,
Not
neither
at
have I.
all.
Yeah.
And I think
Todd,
they're
Todd just learned how
fairly.
to pronounce the name.
Yeah.
I think they're a fairly new Liga MX team as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, I think I'd go with Sam up top for my striker. I mean, Jim's going to make 3 changes. I feel like go with Sam. Nate Harriel comes into the lineup, regardless of if Bizer can go or not. You'll see. I think Damian Lowe gets a start as the center back, and I think it's going to be for Jacob Glesnes, but I don't want it to be. Jacob Glesnes
Really?
was fantastic tonight. The only reason why I think Damian Lowe comes into the starting lineup is because we see Jim Curtin anytime that we play a CONCACAF opponent, a Liga MX opponent, it's always Damian Lowe in there just because he has CONCACAF experience. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Damian Lowe. And I know Jose is saying that Matalan is one of the weaker Liga MX teams, but you got to rotate your center backs. You got to keep them healthy. You don't want to run into an issue where Jacob Glesnes just got ran into the ground last year. You want to keep those guys healthy. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. The one thing that makes this team good right now is the amount of depth that they have.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you have players healthy. And so you got to rotate in positions that you don't normally like to rotate in. I wouldn't mind a midfielder, McGlynn on the left, Flock on the right, or a Flock on the left, McGlynn on the right, just because I think give you that defensive stability. If you started Damian Lowe, he's going to be aggressive. You have Liam Flock out there to cover for the aggressiveness of Damian Lowe, and so let Jack McGlynn, let Kai Wagner be your playmakers. Daniel Gazlag be your playmaker. One player I do feel bad for, and I know we're coming up on the hour, is Jesus Bueno, man. I mean, this guy, this was his tournament last season. It was his breakout tournament. And Jim Curtin told us before the start of the tournament that they're going to operate as getting players into form. And man, we can't see Jesus Bueno at all. And if we do see him, it's for a minute or two. And it's, man, you feel bad for the guy because he was good last year. And I still think he's a quality player. And you bring Danley in, and Jim Curtin said, we only have 9 games left and we're going to throw him into the fire. And that's just going to put Bueno farther and farther down the line. But you got to feel bad for the kid, right?
You know what's funny about this? You mentioned Bueno, kind of makes you think a little bit. And a lot of Union fans are against Leagues Cup right now. But if you look back at last year's Leagues Cup, how important that was to find players like Bueno, right? If we didn't have Leagues Cup last year, Bueno probably doesn't get the minutes he got.
He doesn't get called up to the national team.
He doesn't get called up.
Doesn't get his contract.
Leagues Cup was so important last season to see what Bueno had to offer. This year, you're not finding some star player that was buried in the lineup. Maybe I guess Baribo, I guess you want to call that. But this Leagues Cup tournament is being used to get these players in good form. The form that they're playing right now is getting better and better, and it's just funny. I mean, I know there's some back and forth with the reason for this tournament, all that stuff, but it's actually been very important for the Union these last 2 seasons. But in terms of the weather, so I think Palette 112 says the weather's supposed to be nasty on Saturday. I haven't even looked that far ahead. That's not surprising considering it's a Union. But Evan also mentions if it's not broken, why try to fix it? I do think that Lowe's going to play because of the CONCACAF thing you mentioned, Todd. I thought personally you were going to say Elliott to go out rather than Glesnes. But at the same time, we know Glesnes had the injury last year. Maybe it's not a bad idea to put Lowe in there. I just know how good Jacob is playing right now. Do you take him out when he's playing at that high level? Jose, any thoughts on the lineup or any disagreements you have with Todd's predictions there?
No disagreements on my part. I can see that, Jim, and obviously I was very wrong, and Mike, you were 100% right on when we got together yesterday in terms of the lineup. You nailed it to the point that it's just like, shit, were you texting Jim or something?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, he probably was. One thing I will say, Mazatlan, founded in 2020, 7 managers to this date. So rotating door of different managers that have come in. So it's a team that hasn't really had stability, if that makes any sense. but nonetheless, I'm much like you, both really intrigued onto what Subaru Park looks like this weekend and who shows up and who doesn't. And that's totally fine if you don't want to show up, whatever. But it is a quarterfinal. The trophy is just a few wins away.
Yep.
I'd be intrigued to see if folks change their tune, and that's okay too. On a game where players would want to see more blue than purple. I think Mazatlan is purple and red. I think are their kids. So I'd be really, really intrigued. And Mike, if I go and you're not there, I'll buy you a Mazatlan jersey as well. So you can continue to
whose jersey do you guys think Marco Fabian's wearing? Philadelphia Union or Mazatlan?
Oh, definitely Mazatlan, not Philadelphia Union.
Spent less time with them than he did the Union.
That's true.
I don't know that his time with the Union. You know, I still want to talk to him. I should email his club in Andorra and see if he's willing to give me 15 minutes with him, just to chat.
That would be the most random interview for this season. But
4
listen,
appearances, 2 goals with his club. Nice.
Brother, I tried to interview him while he was playing indoor soccer. They kept on not responding, and I know that they opened my emails. I know that they did. They just chose not to respond, and that's totally fair. So, for what it's worth, Trav, man, if the tickets are that cheap, brother, I'll buy you a ticket. Okay?
You hear that, Trav? You got it right there, out of the horse's mouth, right there. There you go. Listen, it's 11:15. We got to wrap it up. Also, I still feel like shit, so we're gonna call it a night.
Yeah, you said you weren't gonna talk that much. I feel like you talk more than both of us.
You talk the most.
I talked. I had to muscle through it, like the Union. I came back from the depths of nothing and just found a way. No, I really am struggling right now. So either way, Philadelphia Union 4-2 victory against Cincinnati. They've moved on to the quarterfinals. They host Mazatlan at Super Park on Saturday. A very sloppy Saturday forecast ahead of us. Valerie mentions 88% chance of precipitation. So I want to see. I just don't want to see what happened last year with Querétaro when they kind of took them lightly, like the third time they played them or whatever it was, and they almost blew that game. Come out strong, hit them hard. And also Evan asks Todd, how was Hershey Park? Big H Bears guy here. Was it good, Todd?
Hershey Park was good.
Awesome.
I can't comment on the Hershey Bears. Kyle Almany or Jillian Almany. I don't know if they're still in the comments, but Kyle's definitely a big Hershey Bears fan. So hit him up, Coach Almany. He'll talk your ear off about the Hershey Bears. Big Hershey Bears guy. But yeah, I mean the park's cool. We got to get Jose on some roller coasters. So last year, funny enough, come on, dude. Come on.
Absolutely not. I don't do that. It's like people who go and watch scary movies. Why would you put yourself through that?
I volunteer, Todd.
So last year, Kyle, Jillian, and I, we tried to get a whole group of Union fans to go to Hershey Park for Halloween. And of course it was like terrible weather. And so we're going to do it again. And so we invite all you guys out. If you guys want to come with us to Hershey Park for Halloween this year, hopefully it's not bad. We're not saying we're buying your tickets. Definitely can't afford all that. But yeah, come hang out with us. We'll take over Hershey Park, a whole bunch of Union fans. And we're going to get Jose Nunez on his first roller coaster.
No, wouldn't be my first. It'd be probably the second. I passed out on a roller coaster before, and it's not pretty. You just your body goes, and then you wake up, and then you go again. It's.
Oh, dude, you can do Candemonium. It's such an easy roller coaster. Yeah, you go up high, you go down. But
gosh, is it Dorney Park that has the Peanuts stuff? I can't remember.
Yeah,
that's the speed I go at. Okay, the Peanuts water park is what I go at.
Yeah, get them on the Trailblazer. You can do that. Come on,
Jillian. You need to pipe down and start school again.
I gotta get this roller coaster. Shoot, I haven't been to one in a minute. All right, anyway, guys. This is Across the Pitch. We're joined tonight by our good pal Todd Lewis from the Free Kick. Anything upcoming, Todd? You have an episode coming up, I'm assuming tomorrow, the next day, right?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Jose, this dude's pumping out content like crazy.
I know. Todd's the best. That's why.
I just laugh because you know.
Yeah, of course.
Just no goals breakdown. That's how I'm protesting Leagues Cup.
I like it. You do your own thing, Todd. I'm actually going through Maryland this weekend, so I'll wave goodbye as I pass through wherever you live. And then Jose at Jose R. Nunez 91 on Twitter. Again, thanks for commenting, everybody. The comments are great. Derek, Drew, I lost track of everybody. Everybody who commented, thank you so much. Go Union. We'll talk to you this
Whoa,
week.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Wait,
no,
whoa,
no, no,
whoa,
no,
whoa,
no,
whoa,
Elliot,
what you got?
What am I
There's an
doing here?
update. There's an update.
There's an update. We have an update. Okay.
Don't forget tomorrow, at the stadium. It's going to be the
Oh,
town hall. Town hall
forgot.
tomorrow. Since it was
Fuck,
supposed to be
that's
tonight,
tomorrow?
6 to 8. Tomorrow, town hall at Subaru Park at Union Yards. You guys want to complain to Jay Sugarman? There's your opportunity.
I can't
Wait,
go.
hold up. Mike, are you going?
No, because I have to travel this week for work. I can't make
Okay.
it.
Todd, are you in?
Almost no work, man.
All right. I guess I'll
Kyle
go.
and Jillian are going to be there.
Yeah, I know. I have a ticket. I did get a ticket. Did we have to? Gosh, I know we're going on, but like, did we have to re-sign up or anything? I know I downloaded a ticket
I
at
don't
one
think so.
point. All right, live from the ground, Jose.
I don't even
Nunez
know
will
why
be
you need
there.
a ticket when they could put people outside. It's so dumb, but
It's 250 capacity apparently.
What?
Which
apparently
means
they're
it's
live streaming it.
outside.
That's what.
No, they're not live streaming. They're recording it. You can watch it later.
Okay.
It might be slightly edited. Yeah, no, town hall tomorrow. You're right, Todd. You're right. Town hall tomorrow. If you submitted your questions, great. If you have questions, I think don't get to them. But yeah, no, Mike, thank you so much for spearheading this. I know you're sick. I know you are not feeling well, but what a time to be a Union fan, right? A town hall right around the corner, a $1.6 million signing, as well as making the quarterfinals of a tournament that brings in two different leagues all together with, frankly, a Mexican league that spends a far more amount of money than the MLS ever does. So, yeah, plenty to complain about apparently tomorrow. So we'll see. Everybody stay tuned for what gets asked during this town hall tomorrow.
Exactly. Are we good now?
We're good.
Have a good night, everybody. Go Union.